Jason Donovan is the guy who was this squeaky clean boy from Neighbours. And then, boom, it all descended into sex, drugs and rock and roll.
He's going to ask me probably about my childhood, about Neighbours. He will definitely be asking me about Kylie. I know exactly where it's going to go, unfortunately. You know, there are boundaries. There are certain places I won't go for anyone.
My challenge tonight, I think, is to try and just bring that wall down a little bit. I'm going to ask Jason about cocaine, about collapsing in Johnny Depp's nightclub at Kate Moss's party, and get to the real Jason Donovan, because he's a much more complicated character than people may realise. Tonight's interview has the potential to be really explosive.
I think you're going to see Jason Donovan as he is.
Jason could finally answer some of those questions he's never answered. I'm trying to think how long it's been since I've known. It's probably 20 years.
It would have been, yeah, 20 years, you know, the bizarre column.
And I finally ended up with more hair than you.
Just. Just.
At the height of your fame, it was reported that a Jason Donovan fan, fainted every 12 seconds at your live shows.
Yeah.
In 1989, 275 fans were stretchered out of your Newcastle concert. Can you imagine that?
For those teenagers that were growing up, they fell in love with the characters of Scott and Charlene and Henry and all, and then, of course, fell in love with the music as well.
At a particular
time in their life.
They were falling in love with you,
well,
my friend.
I mean...
They were fainting, screaming, Jason! Hundreds of them were being stretchered out. I mean, what is it? I mean, look, I've lived my entire life trying to get to a place where any woman would faint in my presence, other than out of utter horror. So, what is it like?
Let me be honest, you know, I didn't dream of that. I didn't dream of becoming famous. I didn't dream of the girls fainting. What I wanted to become was an actor, and the acting eventually led to the singing.
If I could have said to you, look, Jason, I can offer you a deal here. You can be a successful actor and a singer if you like, but you're never going to have that kind of ridiculous fame. Would you have preferred, with hindsight, to have never tasted it?
No, I'm quite happy the way it's happened.
I knew it! I knew it!
No, I think it's a matter of sort of, those things are what dreams are made of. I'm glad I did it when I had the energy to do it at a time in my life where I was completely focused.
Why do you think you were so popular? You weren't the only one, Kylie, obviously. What made you so special?
It wasn't unattractive, was it? You know, I mean, you know, I think I had that going for me. I think I had the talent, but I just had an ability to work hard.
What do you think your real talent is?
Working hard.
More than anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. When I focus on something, I do it.
Do you think you're a good actor?
I think I'm a better actor than I am a singer.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You would.
What you were probably most famous for were, of course, the trademark blonde mullets, which spawned many a mullet. I think we may have one to show you. There we are. That is a great mullet.
The days of Michael Bolton, you know, Sharp and all those characters.
Are you fond of that look?
I was then. I wouldn't say it's something I can particularly do these days.
You began losing your hair when you were 23, which was a concern to you.
When you allude, you know, the fact that the people are screaming and, you know, you've had this incredible success, to sort of see yourself age, you know, prematurely, and not be able to quite deal with it at the time.
Did you ever try any of those, you know, those terrible hair restorer products you see on TV advertised?
Piers, let's just say, you know, I have been lucky enough to have had a few things done that enable it to sort of look OK.
We're not talking about one of those Elton John hair weaves, are we?
Not the weave, not the weave. But,
can you clarify?
Well, I've had a few little things done to my hair, you know. I think if women can have breast implants why can't men do what they want to do to
You've
their
had
hair?
breast implants?
You're not listening to me, Piers.
You've had hair implants?
I have, yes, I have.
And, I mean, Wayne Rooney just had this, right? Same thing. And I thought he was quite good. He went on Twitter and just said, here I am, look, I'm proud of this. I mean, is it something anymore that men should be worried about?
Absolutely not. And why should I go and turn around and sort of have a press release about it? You know, I don't feel the need. In fact, this is probably the only time I've ever talked about it publicly. It's brilliant.
You look in the mirror and go...
It's made me feel good. It's made me feel good about myself.
And would you recommend other guys to do it?
Absolutely. 100%.
Good for you. I think the ladies, do you like this new look? I think we could be bordering on a new fainting session here.
I don't think so.
Jason, over the last 20 years, you've made your name as one of Australia's most successful ever exports. Jason Donovan, the typical Aussie boy next door, who became the obsession of a generation.
He had a gorgeous face, he had that blonde hair and a mullet. You can't go wrong.
Age 10, I had Jason Donovan pictures on my wall.
For any young guy in the pop industry, you know, Jason Donovan was, you know, as big as you could possibly get.
In 1986, Jason arrived on our TV screens as the clean-cut Scott Robinson in the Aussie soap Neighbours.
Don't worry, we're doing the right thing.
It was on at lunchtime, so the mums could watch it. Then it was on after school, so we could all watch it when we got home.
I used to watch the 1 o'clock edition and the 6 o'clock edition. That's quite bad.
But after 3 years and 400 episodes in the soap, Jason quit Ramsay Street to concentrate on a career in pop music.
Oh, there was no question that Jason was a pop star. That was a foregone conclusion.
I remember Jason on Top of the Pops, and I remember it for one reason, and that's that I was trying to be a pop star at the time, and it felt like that's who I want to be. I didn't want to be him. I wanted to do what he was doing.
And there was one single that catapulted Jason into the pop stratosphere.
It's only one song. Come on, you know it. Look, everyone's singing. It's Too Many Broken Hearts. That's the one.
There are moments in your life when you look back and you think that was the moment. The video came back from Australia. And my God, when Jason walked up that hill, it's still, you know, one of the moments. Because pop music's about emotion.
Jason Mania was born.
It seemed to happen just overnight. Suddenly, bam, he's on front page of this and front page of that, and people are knocking at the door saying, oh, can we have his autograph?
The whole Jason Mania thing was outrageous. You couldn't go anywhere without his face on something. His face was on everything.
Wherever Jason went, screaming and fainting fans followed. But there was only one woman in Jason's life, Kylie Minogue, who played Charlene in Neighbours.
Now I've got everything.
The couple first appeared on screen together as children in Aussie drama series Skyways when they were just 11 years old.
Did you have a good time last night?
I did. Robin was sick. I was not. It was a pizza where Dad took us. She's not used to it.
Neither is he. Well, did you enjoy it anyway?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the cheese was fantastic. Christy liked it.
Oh, Christy can't eat.
She can, so...
Then, 8 years later, 19 million of us tuned in to watch Jason and Kylie tie the knot in Neighbours' most popular ever episode.
Between Scott and Charlene, the relationship became quite iconic.
But the magic wasn't just on screen. Jason and Kylie were a real-life couple. They were in love and seemed made for each other.
They were working together all the time. They were young and they were beautiful. Why not?
But the couple were often apart performing, especially once Kylie's career had taken off big time. And it was while she was away touring in Japan that Kylie phoned Jason to end their relationship.
I don't know what caused the split. I never asked them, never wanted to ask. But Jason was hurt.
Great. Love it.
You and Kylie obviously became this world iconic couple. What was the moment when you realised
there was something more?
Yeah.
I think she chased me initially, and then, you know, I guess I gradually gave in, and one thing led to another, and, you know, the next thing you know, we were sort of working and having this relationship, and...
There is a suggestion, a very strong suggestion, that you cemented things together in a Sydney travel lodge during a Neighbours promotional tour.
That might be true, actually. That might be true.
You can confirm that.
I think that is absolutely true. I think there was a number of promotional trips that the people from Neighbours would do each weekend around Australia, and I think the Travelodge was the place. Well done, Piers.
You're such a romantic.
Yeah. The Travelodge in those days was a really posh place, though.
Alan Partridge would be proud of you for that. He really would.
Would.
The other suggestion, for years and years, has always been, I have to be blunt here, Jason, did you lose your virginity to Kylie Minogue? That's not true?
It's a very personal question, Piers, I have to say.
It's a good, juicy question, isn't it?
That's not true.
Not true?
100% not true.
What was the moment that you knew you were in love with her?
I think the real realisation that one was in love was, you know, as I began to see her blossom.
I mean, that's the most painful kind of love, isn't it, really?
Well, particularly for a young man, you know, because you think you're the sort of the success story, and you're going to be the sort of the breadwinner and come and live with me, you know. And suddenly, you know, she's off on a sort of a different course. I mean, we did live together for sort of period of about 6 to 8 months.
Was this the first time you'd really been in love with someone?
Absolutely, and it was the, you know, I mean, that is a very powerful emotion to have, coupled with the fact that, you know, you were the most successful, most talked about couple in Australia, which was, you know, our backyard at the time. It was I mean, there was a lot of arguments too. It wasn't an easy relationship, and I think that had a lot to do with the fact that, you know, we were working together and...
what did you argue about?
We argued a lot about her wanting to go off and do other things, I think, you know, her independence. I didn't want... It was jealousy, pure jealousy.
When you got married in the show, did part of you hope in that moment this was going to happen for real? But had you identified it?
Probably at the time.
She was the one for you?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
When she broke up with you, did she tell you why?
No.
You found out later why? And there's no doubt, really, I guess, now
well,
that
it was over the papers, you know, about so 3 weeks later.
She'd been seeing Michael?
Correct. Well, they went to a premiere of her movie called The Delinquents. You know, there's that iconic shot of her and Michael walking in, and it was really sort of, you know, rubbing my nose in.
I mean, was that the moment you realised exactly what had been happening and why she had...
I think that was a visualisation, yeah.
The catalyst, many assume, and you can clear this up if you like, but there was a party, an after-show party, and you were together with Kylie, but she spent most of the evening flirting with him.
We went and saw an INXS concert in Sydney, and this was at the peak of INXS.
And you loved INXS.
Oh, I loved them, and I wanted to be Michael Hutchence, you know. We went and saw the show, and they invited us back to the hotel room, and I remember they were in this massive limo, you know, and we'd hired this sort of little Ford Fiat, or, you know, tiny car, and we kept driving past this limo at the lights.
Was not a single part of you thinking alarm bells here, that you're in your little jalopy following a limo to Michael Hutchence's hotel suite with beautiful Kylie? I mean, this is a dangerous situation, isn't it?
Obviously, in hindsight, yes, you're absolutely right. And probably at the time, you know, I wasn't particularly happy about it. But, you know, the whole Michael thing, you know, I mean, you know, that was a tough blow to happen. You know, Pete is right in the sense that, yes, I did receive a phone call. I was in New York, she was in Japan.
Did you try and win her back?
I think initially... After the
phone call?
Yeah.
But she was having none of it?
Yeah, she wasn't having any of it.
I mean, it's a double blow, isn't it? Because the woman you love has dumped you, but also you're now finding out she's going out with this rock god who you actually...
Wanted to be.
Wanted to be,
yeah,
ironically.
Tough. Yeah. And I took it hard, you know. It was sleepless nights and sort of, you know, it was tough. It was really tough. But what doesn't break you makes you stronger.
Let's go back to when you first landed the part of Scott Robinson, in 1985. To us watching in Britain, I used to watch it like Gary Barlow, sometimes twice a day. I was an addict. And you always had this kind of dreamy, floaty look about you. And it was only recently I discovered it was because you and some of your cast members were sneaking off in between the shooting sessions and smoking cannabis joints.
That is not true, Piers.
Is that true or not?
Quite true.
Did you smoke joints on the set of
Never
Neighbours?
on the set. Never
Off
on
the set? Next to the set?
Never on the set. Never, ever on the set.
You have read your own book, have you?
What did I say?
You said you did it on the set.
Had I? Jesus Christ. OK, well, there probably was one incident at Lassiter's. We'd had a big block of scenes in the morning, and then I had a big block of scenes in the afternoon. But I didn't have a lot of dialogue in the afternoon. What happened was they shuffled the order of scenes around so that I walked back into the green room, and suddenly my teeth were up there like that. And suddenly one of the producers came and said, listen, we've had a change around today. We'd like you to go in there and do this extra scene. And I'm like, no.
So you did do a scene while flying off your head on cannabis?
Well, I wouldn't say flying, but I'd certainly under the influence.
How did it go? Was it some of your best work?
That was all right. I was never particularly good when I was off my head.
I couldn't tell the difference, to be honest with
you. You didn't look deep enough.
No.
You didn't look deep enough. Sometimes in life, you occasionally get a few punches, and you sit there and you take those, and sometimes you just have to punch back, and that's what I did.
Let's go back to where it all started. You were born June the 1st, 1968. You were the only child of famous parents. Your dad was a well-known actor, Terence Donovan. Your mum was Sue Menlove, who was a dancer. When you were 5 years old, your mum walked out on you and your dad. I mean, do you have any memory of your parents being together?
My memory of my parents is more to do with the fact of spending time with my dad wondering, is my mum going to come back?
But she left. You were left with your father. He fought a custody battle for you, and very unusually...
Won.
He won sole custody of you, an extraordinary thing.
In 1972, that was pretty amazing.
Were you aware of what was going on?
No.
So he kept it all away?
Well, I just don't have a recollection of that period, full stop.
Do you think you've blocked it out?
Maybe I have, you know, maybe I have.
You said in your book that you cried a few times because you were panicking at school as to whether your father would turn up and pick you up. Because he was all you had.
Yeah. I was an only child too, so that sort of made the impact even stronger. But I had love, you know. I guess the thing with Dad was he was my real sort of rock, I suppose.
He never spoke to your mother again?
No.
You didn't invite her to your wedding?
No.
I mean, do you have any relationship with her?
No.
How do you feel about that?
I don't wish my mother any bad will in life. I just don't think we're destined to be mates for some reason.
Do you feel...
It's sad, but it's, you know, that's just life.
Jason, when you left Neighbours, you came to Britain and you took it by storm.
Let us make a pledge to meet.
Jason had firmly established himself as a major pop star, and in the early 90s, after splitting from Kylie, was a force to be reckoned with in the charts.
Jason, at one point, was outselling Kylie. I mean, that's the thing that everybody forgets.
Andrew Lloyd Webber wanted a big star for the lead role in his West End musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Lloyd Webber needed Jason more than Jason needed Lloyd Webber. You know, he needed the biggest pop star on the planet to do it.
But would the pop star be able to pull it off?
I don't know that Jason had had any stage experience before.
It's one thing saying, oh, yeah, great, I'll go and be in a show, but, you know, there are professionals that are in shows and they do it all the time.
The moment of truth came when the show opened at the London Palladium.
Far, far away, someone
I was fortunate to be at the first night of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and he got a standing ovation. I thought that was absolutely stunning. That's my boy.
Such a dazzling coat of many colours.
I saw Jason and Joseph. Yeah, I thought he was amazing.
Those I love from.
I would absolutely say that Jason helped put West End Theatre back on the map.
The tickets were sold out for like 2 years or something. You couldn't even get hold of tickets.
For making Joseph such a sellout success, Jason was raking in the money.
I've heard that the wages were like record wages, like 30 grand a week or something, like Wayne Rooney wages, basically.
But things were about to go badly wrong. A doctored image of Jason appeared around London, wearing a T-shirt bearing an offensive slogan. It was part of a poster campaign designed to out celebrities who were gay but wouldn't admit it. The image was reproduced in an article in Style magazine, The Face. Jason decided to sue the publication, claiming it had accused him of being a hypocrite and a liar for denying he was gay.
There was a lot of people in the media at the time that misconstrued the court case as homophobia. It wasn't. He was making a point. Too many things have been written about me that I don't believe. This is one too many things, and I'm going to hold you to task.
This has not been a case about homosexuality, and I resent any suggestion that it was. Everybody should feel free to live their lives as they wish.
Jason won the case and was awarded £200,000 damages, but faced a backlash.
And I said, no, this is something that he wants to have it.
I don't know whether it's a particular watch to take, and I don't think it did a great deal of good.
I mean, would you do something with
No.
What compelled you at the time to do it?
Well, I think, you know, rumours had persisted, you know.
And by the way, I can confirm that. I mean, I was working, actually, on a tabloid at the time, wasn't editor, but there were lots of rumours about Jason Donovan's supposedly gay. And it was at a time, not like today, when it wouldn't have mattered nearly as much.
I don't think it helped the fact that I was in a loincloth wearing a sort of multicoloured coat at the time, looking sort of with a blonde sort of wig, you know, blue-eyed sort of kid that kept his private life very private. You know, I think it got worse when a journalist, and I really believe this, came into my dressing room at the Palladium and saw a picture of Chesney Hawkes sitting on my toilet door. You know, which was a joke, actually, at the time. All I can say is, you know, sometimes in life you occasionally get a few punches, and you sit there and you take those, and sometimes you just have to punch back, and that's what I did. But, you know, I stood up for myself, and if any good came of it, is that maybe this was a... I was speaking out for all the individuals, gay, straight, you know, hetero, homo in the world that just want to be who they are without any attention having to be focused on them, you know? Who gives anyone the right to be outed? You know, because you want to further your cause? What a load of bullshit.
Well,
I'm sorry.
The side effect that was really, I guess, unexpected for you was that you were branded homophobic. And, in fact, you began to suffer real abuse in the street.
Yeah, there was an extremely vicious revolt against me, you know.
The worst thing about it, I think, looking back, is that shortly afterwards you were offered a part in a movie playing a drag queen. The movie was Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and you turned it down, I've been told, because you felt that the negativity surrounding this court case made it just absurd that your next part should be a drag queen.
Look, we felt it could be exploited in the wrong way, and maybe, you know, publicity-wise, we couldn't control that.
But when it was a smash hit at the box office,
it killed me. I mean, I was in Cannes. I was in Cannes, you know, in the audience, you know, when it won a Palme d'Or or something, you know, and everyone was standing up giving it an ovation, and, you know, probably had I taken that risk. You know, I've done this a lot in my life. You know, I don't take risks sometimes. You know, I think if anything in my life, you know, sometimes I play it safe too much, you know.
Let's move on to happier events, because you landed this role in Joseph. Everyone was sceptical before. Jason Donovan doing an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, this can't work. And it was a smash hit. How satisfying to you professionally was it? Because it's not like doing a pop record where you can mime half of it.
I was reluctant because, as a pop star, it made more sense to me to play 5 nights at Wembley Arena than to do, you know, 360 shows, 8 shows a week at the Palladium. But I auditioned for Andrew. He heard me sing. He said, there's something we can do here, and one thing led to another, and it reinvented my career.
Gary Barlow seemed extremely jealous of the fact that you were earning £30,000 a week. Was he right? Were you earning that?
I was earning somewhere in that amount, yes.
That's big money.
In those days, it was big money. I was worth it. I was worth every cent, Piers. My biggest regret, and I don't use that word very often, is that I didn't stick with the production for longer, really.
After starring in Neighbours for 3 years, you decided you wanted a career change. You followed in Kylie's footsteps. You came to Britain. You met with Stock Aitken and Waterman. What made you... I mean, was it just as obvious as Kylie's become a huge pop star, I can do this too? Was that the thinking?
Pretty much.
I do love your honesty, Jason.
I mean,
I've got to say.
You know, look, I mean, my father always said you need to be as versatile as one can be in this business, you know, and I think those words are, you know, something I would pass on to my children as well, you know.
You think you're a good singer? How would you rate yourself?
I'm not... I need to be secure. I'm not a natural singer. I've certainly become, you know, better at it over the years. I mean, when you do, you know, a show like Joseph, when you do, you know, perform in the West End...
You can't cheat a West End production.
No, you can't cheat a West End production.
That's not mine. You're singing.
Absolutely. So, you know, over the years, it's become something that I've become better at. But I need my comfort zone around me to sing, you know. I need
the big comfort zone, of course, was Too Many Broken Hearts in the World, which reduced even Pete Waterman to tears now 20 years on. But it was an amazingly big hit. I can imagine for Pete, it does bring back a lot of strong memories. You must have been outselling Kylie and In Excess at the same time. That must have been quite satisfying.
Yeah. Still didn't look like Michael Hutchins. That gave me a lot of satisfaction.
What was the point when the cheese factor becomes a problem? In other words, you grow up and you've been very happy doing what some people would call cheesy pop songs and videos and so on, and the TV show and everything else, but that particular branding for you suddenly feels uncool.
Well, I use the saying, success is not the key to happiness, happiness is the key to success. The problem for me was my image, I suppose, you know, and going back to the sort of the Joseph loincloth, you know, I just didn't see that when I looked in the mirror, you know. And again, you know, I'll be really honest with you, I'd go home at night and smoke a joint and listen to Nirvana records, you know.
Having sung Any Dream Will Do in a
At the Palladium, you know, and that's what I wasn't that sort of character. You know, everyone was saying I was sort of the next Cliff Richard. With respect to Cliff Richard, it just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. So what happened after that was, you know, this sort of desire to want to be cool, you know, and that's when the car crash really happened, I suppose.
That's exactly where we're heading.
I knew you were.
I closed my eyes.
Jason's stage role as Joseph was a West End triumph. But there was a downside.
I knew the minute he sung Any Dream Will Do, his career was over. Finished. Those kids at the end, nah, 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 that's it, gone. You're finished.
His only #1 hit was from the show Joseph.
How I love my coat of many colours. Each was red and yellow.
I kind of know that Jason wasn't very happy at one point in his career because he wasn't really writing his music, and he was kind of singing songs that other people had given to him.
Offstage, Jason began partying hard and was starting to lose his way.
I remember Jason partaking in a social way, and nothing as big time as cocaine. And then seeing him and thinking, you don't look well.
In In 1993, Jason quit Joseph and had time on his hands to party even harder.
I think that when you're in these parties where people are all like celebrities and, you know, they're all doing cocaine, you think you've got to do cocaine.
London has its dark sides, and the dark sides, unfortunately, with the success Jason had, I think sucked him in.
Jason was at the time quite often chemically assisted. On a couple of occasions I went out for lunch with him and the next day he wouldn't remember where he'd been or the fact that we'd even met up. It was a shame to see someone who was always, you know, sort of so handsome and adored, essentially coming apart at the seams.
He could no longer hide his drug habit, so it must have been well out of control.
I think everybody who'd worked with Jason or knew Jason was worried.
I can remember saying to my wife, you know, we should do something. There must be something we can do to help, because I thought eventually this is going to end up in tragedy.
Jason's partying finally caught up with him in 1995 at the Viper Room Club in Los Angeles, where he was celebrating Kate Moss's 21st birthday. Jason collapsed on the dance floor following a cocaine-induced seizure.
He wouldn't be the first or last in that line of people who had everything at their feet and had taken the wrong track and ended up killing themselves.
Please! Hey! You don't need to do that.
I remember, you know, being on the train and looking over somebody's shoulder and seeing him on the front cover and thinking, oh my God, this is a matter of time. I truly, truly thought he was going to die.
I think it was a case of, you know, stamina and luck that prevented him from dropping dead outside a club in Los Angeles.
Pretty dramatic moment in your life, really. It was Kate Moss's 21st birthday party. You're at Johnny Depp's Viper Room Club on Sunset Boulevard. River Phoenix had died there at that very club 18 months before from a drug-induced heart attack. As you're being led away in that ambulance, do you have any recollection of what you're thinking? Do you remember what happened that night?
Well, you know, one of the things that happens with what happened to me, which was a seizure, basically, is that you don't remember. Time stands still. You know, those aren't great images at all, Piers, I have to say. Doesn't make me happy looking at that at all, particularly with kids.
How had you made the move from cannabis, which you'd taken for quite a long time, into cocaine?
That's an easy move, mate. I mean, that's, you know, anyone that tells you that one drug doesn't lead to another is deluded. Full stop.
Did cocaine give you a better sensation than cannabis? Is that why you
Yeah,
you liked
absolutely.
it?
Look, I've been very honest about my cocaine. You know, it was, for me, I thought it was creative. You know, for me, I could tolerate being with people, you know, whereas, you know, when the attention's on you and, you know, you're just sober, you get claustrophobic, you know. Cocaine makes you sort of, you know, the master of the ball, really.
You had begun to take a lot. I mean, in the build-up to that party, you'd been taking a lot of cocaine in Los Angeles, hadn't you, in the build-up?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd been in Sydney, you know, taking drugs, and then I flew to LA. I got hold of some coke there, jet-lagged, extremely strong consistency of the drug, you know, and, you know, I spent my entire time in the hotel room. The only time I think I went out, actually, was to the party itself. And then from the party, I would go back to the hotel room
what was extraordinary?
and fill up with the drug.
Michael Hutchence, ironically, protected you a lot that night, didn't he? What did he do?
Well, they got the drugs off me, I suppose. That's one aspect. They
He
got
rifled
me,
your pockets, literally, to make sure you had no
made
drugs
sure,
in the
yeah,
hospital.
and, you know, got me into the ambulance. There was a
Stopped
guy...
them getting a picture of you, I think, as well.
I think so.
Good of him to do that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that was, you know, incredibly embarrassing situation to be in. But, you know, I was a drug addict at the time. Just went back to the hotel once they checked me out of the hospital and got back on it.
Well,
I mean, that's the truth. It
well, that's the
sounds
extraordinary thing.
So terrible.
You checked yourself out after about 3 hours, having had a seizure in this club. You went back to the party briefly, and then you went back to the hotel, and you had another line of cocaine. What were you thinking?
You don't think rationally when you're on drugs, Piers. I mean,
you nearly died.
Yeah, but you know that's the problem with drugs. You know, they sort of control your world. It's sad. It was extremely sad.
Were you taking a lot of drugs during Joseph?
No, that's a fact.
At your worst, how much cocaine were you taking?
About 3 grams a day, maybe.
3 grams a day?
Yeah, maybe more.
I mean, for those who know nothing about cocaine, how many lines of cocaine is that?
Oh, that's, you know, 20, 30 lines, maybe. Yeah.
That's an incredible amount. That's proper addiction.
That is proper addiction, yeah.
How much was it costing you?
Didn't really think about it. I mean, you know, you've got the money, so you just fund it, I suppose. You know, 60 pounds a gram, maybe, at the time.
180 pounds a day?
Maybe, at times. I mean, also, what I would say, Piers, is, you know, my drug abuse was in sections, you know. I've always been... I had, at that time, been one of those people that parties hard and then does nothing, you know.
In 1995, you collapsed in a cafe in Bondi Beach full of mums and kids. A news report, I guess rather poignantly for you, described it as a former star, one-time singing sensation. Your father wrote to a woman's magazine in Australia asking that you be given help with your drug addiction. And he wrote the following: "It breaks my heart to look at pictures of how you are now. On more than one occasion, I warned you were killing yourself. I even got the name of a London detox specialist, but you were in denial. You had the attitude, don't worry, I can handle it."
When you're sick like that, you don't listen
care.
You just don't care.
Why would you? You're a cocaine addict.
Absolutely. You're on your own course, and that's all that you think about. Now you're getting me emotional.
Why? Why are you feeling emotional
because,
now?
you know, that is my life turning around.
In 1998, you landed the role of Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And you're on the road touring small-town theatres. And during the making of this, you meet a stage manager called Angela Malik, the woman who is to become your wife.
Yeah.
Tell me about her from those first few times
now
you worked
getting
together.
me.
Why are you feeling emotional?
Because my life turning around, you know, that's my life on the way up again, you know. That's my best friend.
I mean, actually, she saved life.
I saved my life, but she was a woman who came around and stood up to me, you know, and made me accountable.
She moved in with you briefly. Then, after a few months, she gave you an ultimatum. It's going to be drugs or it's going to be me, but it can't be both.
Yeah, but...
So I think you just carried on taking the drugs, and she did actually carry out her threat to leave. And then the next thing you hear, she's pregnant.
If I'm honest, I felt our relationship at that particular point was working. I think drugs had a lot to do with cancer of the relationship. Which they kill... Put down the head. Absolutely.
When you're saying, if you want to do a child, that's fine. But I'm have a child. That's quite awesome to see. Yeah. What were your initial reaction?
How can someone do this to me? How can someone do this to me? I don't want this in my life, you know?
Because this meant having to not be so selfish, potentially. Which
correct.
For a cocaine addict, this is bad as life gets.
But this is the part of the process of, you know, my waking up, I guess. Once Gemma was born, you look at this person and you know, and I embraced it and I was proud of it. And I gradually ended up falling out of love with cocaine and in love with my daughter, and then consequently back in love with the woman who changed that landscape of my life, you know. And that's where I met my best mate. You know, she's the love of my life.
Jason, you'd given up the drugs and a whole new chapter in your life was about to start. In 2006, Jason was enjoying life with his young family and was mostly out of the spotlight. Until he was invited to go on reality TV show, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
let's not kid ourselves, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, is a performance. That's when he shone. And people went, ah, hang on a minute. Oh, Jason's back.
Get me out of here!
On screen elements were really best.
Jim was 100% lead on.
What did you think?
It's fun, it was a do.
I should have eaten the burger. I should have more trolls, because that'd been really funny to see him either lose or win. Yeah.
It's amazing. What are we doing here?
Ultimately, everyone was voting for who he was. So for him, it was a nice time to sort of retell everybody the story of his life and who he was and who he is now.
Happy days.
Then last year, Jason signed up for Strictly Come Dancing, but it wasn't going to be an easy ride.
I had said to Jason, and I'll be very honest with you, I said, I'm not too sure. I think you've got 2 left feet.
He couldn't dance. He couldn't dance when he was doing Joseph, and I know that because I couldn't dance when I was doing Joseph, and he attempted to teach me, and it was the blind leading the blind.
He wasn't a very good dancer. He tried to be. He tries to be.
But it was Jason's powers as a performer which got him to the final.
That mindset, that professional's mindset, where he thinks, I'm not going to just do this 50%, I'm going all out.
Let me be a dancing fool.
I totally understand why Jason's been around for the length of time and why he's still a household name. He works the hardest.
I am enormously proud of what he's done. The things that have gone wrong, he's pushed to one side and moved on. And I couldn't want for a better son.
It's been quite a journey with your old man, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
When you hear him say that, you must feel proud of yourself, actually.
Yeah, I do, you know, and we've been through a lot together, and everything I know, everything that has shown up to come through what I come through, slightly has history with my dad.
You had to take drugs for 12 years. Had temptation, is it always there on your shoulder?
Temptation's always there with everything in life, you know, how you approach things and what's important. And maybe a fun way I love when I can do.
Is doing Harry and have a nice glass of red wine together.
That is probably one of my biggest sins, yes, but I...
Is that the sign of growing up, do you think?
Yes, it is the sign of growing up, but it's the sign of, responsibility and it's when you're in a good place and, you've found the balance in your life. I think that's the most important thing in life, is to achieve a certain balance.
What would be the great life lesson that you've learned that you would hand down to your kids?
Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. How do you measure success, Piers? This is one of the things I'd love to end on. How do you measure success in life? For one person, it's learning to walk. For someone, it's getting through cancer. For someone, it's getting the next #1 hit, in a chart. And that's...
What was it for you?
That's something that constantly I question myself.
When you really think it through, has been your measurement of success in your life?
My ability to come through adversity, desire to be a good father and a good partner. When I look at the pictures that I've just seen, the stories that people tell of me, I now understand that I am extremely lucky to be here.
Jason Donovan, thank you very much. Did you hit Ruler?
Yeah, yes, I think twice. There would be arguments where I'd say, shut up, and lash out.
Jason Donovan is the guy who was this squeaky clean boy from Neighbours. And then, boom, it all descended into sex, drugs and rock and roll.
He's going to ask me probably about my childhood, about Neighbours. He will definitely be asking me about Kylie. I know exactly where it's going to go. I
unfortunately. You know, there are boundaries. There are certain places I won't go for anyone.
My challenge tonight, I think, is to try and just bring that wall down a little bit. I'm going to ask Jason about cocaine, about collapsing in Johnny Depp's nightclub at Kate Moss's party, and get to the real Jason Donovan, because he's a much more complicated character than people may realise. Tonight's interview has the potential to be really explosive.
I think you're going to see Jason Donovan as he is.
Jason could finally answer some of those questions he's never answered. I'm trying to think how long it's been since I've known. It's probably 20 years.
It would have been, yeah, 20 years, you know, the bizarre column.
And I finally ended up with more hair than you.
Just. Just.
At the height of your fame, it was reported that a Jason Donovan fan, fainted every 12 seconds at your live shows.
Yeah.
In 1989, 275 fans were stretchered out of your Newcastle concert. Can you imagine that?
For those teenagers that were growing up, they fell in love with the characters of Scott and Charlene and Henry and all, and then, of course, fell in love with the music as well.
At a
particular time in their life.
They were falling in love with you,
well,
my friend.
I mean...
They were fainting, screaming, Jason! Hundreds of them were being stretchered out. I mean, what is it? I mean, I've lived my entire life trying to get to a place where any woman would faint in my presence, other than out of utter horror. So, what is it like?
Let me be honest, you know, I didn't dream of that. I didn't dream of becoming famous. I didn't dream of the girls fainting. What I wanted to become was an actor, and the acting eventually led to the singing.
If I could have said to you, look, Jason, I can offer you a deal here. You can be a successful actor and a singer if you like, but you're never going to have that kind of ridiculous fame. Would you have preferred, with hindsight, to have never tasted it?
No, I'm quite happy the way it's happened.
I knew it!
No, I think it's a matter of sort of, those things are what dreams are made of. I'm glad I did it when I had the energy to do it at a time in my life where I was completely focused.
Why do you think you were so popular? You weren't the only one, Kylie, obviously. What made you so special?
It wasn't unattractive, was it? I think I had that going for me. I think I had the talent, but I just had an ability to work hard.
What do you think your real talent is?
Working hard.
More than anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. When I focus on something, I do it.
And do you think you're a good actor?
I think I'm a better actor than I am a singer.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You would.
What you were probably most famous for were, of course, the trademark blonde mullets, which spawned many a mullet. I think we may have one to show you. There we are. That is a great mullet.
The days of Michael Bolton, you know, Sharp and all those characters.
Are you fond of that look?
I was then. I wouldn't say it's something I can particularly do these days.
You began losing your hair when you were 23, which was a concern to you.
When you allude, you know, the fact that the people are screaming and, you know, you've had this incredible success, to sort of